All right, so there's some major news coming out of the Louisiana area. This was while John and I were away last week. ICE came and raided Delta Downs in southwest Louisiana and arrested over 80 people who were undocumented immigrants. And I'm just reading from the AP story here. It says, ICE said it raided the Delta Downs Racetrack Hotel and Casino on Monday alongside other state and federal agencies. And it's obviously, rattled some cages and this business. And, I try not to delve too deeply into this stuff on this show because it just makes me so fucking mad that I feel like I'll never stop talking about it. But, we're going to talk to a couple of immigration experts in a little bit, but as far as I can tell, there were no violent criminals or anything that they were picking up. Like, these were people that, aside from being here, quote unquote, unlawfully, were good members of the community and the economic engine in the town, which is the racetrack. And it was just so unnecessary from my point of view. And I just think, there's a real problem in this industry, a real dissonance, I think, between people who are hardcore right-wing Trump supporters, build the wall, all that stuff. But then you work in a business and you make money from a business that is almost wholly dependent on immigrant labor. So I just don't understand how people square those two things, how you can be so violently anti-immigrant, but then turn around and have them be the backbone of your industry and your business. And I think people need a lot more humanity. And it's one thing if you want to kick out violent criminals. Obviously, no one is right against that. Like, that's for the safety of our country. Like, that makes a lot of sense. But crossing the border, that's a misdemeanor. It's a nonviolent crime. And if someone's been here for decades, years and decades, has no subsequent criminal record, is paying taxes, is a driver, an economic driver in agriculture business. Like, what the fuck do you care if they're here other than racism and xenophobia? Why is that a problem for you? And a lot of people don't realize the consequences of all that anti-immigrant rhetoric and, empowering ICE to do these raids until it comes to their doorstep. And I really hope that some people in this industry, now that it is on their doorstep and now that it is going to potentially affect their bottom line, take a step back and start to think about, why am I so mad and so insistent that anybody who's here, who's undocumented, be banished from the country? What is it about me and the information that I've been fed that makes me feel so strongly?
Well, and even if you're not going to take the humanitarian argument about it, Joe, let me give you two other arguments that that you should consider. Number one, and you just alluded to it, is an economic argument, and that is, okay, if you don't like the system and you don't like the way, and you're concerned, and you want to quote unquote clean up the streets and get rid of people who are here illegally, I understand that. Okay. You want people to go through the right process. You want them to be lawful. You want them to be here and go through, the immigration process the right way. I can see the merits of that. On top of that, though, what that means is it's going to cost you more. Okay. Because now, instead of having people who are, doing the job that really, quite bluntly, people don't want. I mean, people don't want to pick fruit in the summertime. People don't want to shovel shit and deal with, and work, in the environment that we have on the backstretch. And if God knows, if you've gone to the backstretch and you see where people live, where your grooms and hot walkers live on the racetrack, on site, you'd be like, this is almost as bad as prison, if not as bad as prison. Okay. And they're sitting in a situation where, it's jobs that a lot of people don't want. They have a skill set that is phenomenal to take care of your investments. Okay, yours and mine investments. Quite frankly, I'm not precluding me, from this equation. On top of that, but then let's just play it forward one more step. Let's say that you don't agree with me on any of those steps, but you've invested money into these horses, and 80-something people get rounded up at Delta Downs, and now the horses that they were caring for don't have anyone watching over them. So now you're stretched even thinner as far as a humanitarian standpoint of having employees taking care of instead of a 4-to-1 ratio of horses to people, now it's a 10-to-1 ratio, and your horses aren't being cared for as well. Or even worse, there are examples of this particular raid where horses were, left tied to the back of the stall. They were left where they were, underwatered. Some horses were allegedly on walkers, for a longer period of time than they should have been, because the people who were caring for them weren't able to get back and take care of those. So there's a domino effect. If you don't want, if you're like, hey, I don't want anyone who's not, of this certain thing and go through this process, in my country. Okay. You have that right to make that argument, but you then can't complain. The horse industry is costing me too much money and I don't want to spend more money on day rate. And then on top of it, why aren't my horses, how come my trainer missed this issue with my horse and why isn't my horse running on a more regular basis? Well, it's because the caretakers of those horses that have skills and horsemanship to benefit the horses themselves, which therefore will benefit you in the long run, taking care of your horses. So there's other arguments just then. I don't want this, this quote unquote illegal person here in my country.
Yeah. And it's honestly, we should be on our hands and knees thanking the immigrants who work the backstretch, because as you mentioned, the conditions are not great. The pay is not great. It's a very physically demanding job, a lot of early mornings and late afternoons and nights. Like, we should be ever grateful that we have these people who, as I mentioned, are the backbone of our industry. And like, just all the arguments that are made, the anti-immigration arguments, are such bullshit. Like, oh, well, they're going to commit crimes. No, actually, if you look at statistics, illegal immigrants are much, much, much less likely to commit crimes than natural-born Americans. Because if you think about it for more than 2 seconds, it's like, well, I'm already here. I'm not supposed to be here. Why on earth would I bring more attention to myself and commit a crime? Oh, they're sucking up our benefits and all. No, they're not eligible for those benefits. It's been proven time and time again, study after study, that immigrants contribute more to the economy and more to the tax revenue than they take back by a long, long shot. So it's just, and the thing about we want them to do it the right way. Like, the way people talk about this, like, they act as if you get to the border and there's one window that says legal and one that says illegal.
Right.
And the line is like a little bit shorter at the illegal window, so people just run through that.
Right.
Like, that is not at all how it is. It is an incredibly labyrinthine process to become a citizen that takes years upon years upon years and different agencies. And you need an immigration lawyer to be able to navigate it. And a lot of times, people are in danger or desperate poverty at no fault of their own, and they don't have that kind of time. Like, they need to help their family survive. And if they're here and they don't have any subsequent criminal record, and they're paying taxes and they're not hurting anybody, there's no logical reason that they shouldn't be allowed to stay other than your xenophobia. And it's just so easy. There's such an easy scapegoat because they don't have political power for the most part. They don't have a voice. They're largely invisible. And like we're saying, do a lot of the really hard jobs that Americans don't want to do. It's just the easiest thing in the world to be anti-immigrant because they can't fight back. And I'm just so tired of that bullying and that scapegoating. And I pray, I hope that this coming to our doorstep in this business gets a lot of these hardliners and these build the wall assholes to, finally realize the humanity of the people who make our country go. So yeah, I mean, that's all I got to say about that. And thankfully we do have a couple experts who are coming on to explain to us, the system and how people in the industry can navigate it. And right. I pray for more humanity and more empathy for your fellow people, especially when they are the ones who make your business go.